A lot of conversation now about moving back to a physical fitness award, and the Presidential Physical Fitness Award is an executive order signed by President Trump. And to get some of the history of where this actually started and what is best for children is Dr. Chuck Corbin is joining us. And you've got quite the history with the testing mechanism going all the way back to the 1950s. Can you talk a little bit about the history of this?
Yeah, I'll just give you a quick overview. I was fortunate as a freshman at the University of New Mexico in 1957 to collect data for the first National Youth Fitness Test. That came about as a result of the report that shocked the president, that being President Eisenhower back in 1956. And that resulted in we need a national test. We need to test kids because kids, the report that shocked the president said, our kids, Americans, are not as fit as European kids. Of course, that study was not well done. It couldn't be published today, but it didn't matter. It resulted in the president getting involved. Eisenhower was a general. He was concerned about the fitness of military people. So he said, yes, let's go. So he created the President's Council. A year later, AFERD, which is the PE Association,
right.
National PE Association, created a fitness test, and that's the one for which I created data. For 65, 58, 65, 75, up to 85, that test was given in all the schools, throughout the country. PE teachers were in charge. But it had its problems from the beginning. It was really more of a test of what the people who created it over a very short period of time in response to let's get going here, had a lot of what are called skill-related fitness items versus health-related fitness items. And of course, we didn't know then what we know now, the health benefits of fitness and activity. And so the tests include a lot of items that were similar to what might be in the NFL combine, a 50-yard dash, a shuttle run, long jump, and
that's
like
what
that.
My generation remembers. I was my senior year in high school was 1985, so those were the years where that was beyond that, where it was more of a test of skills.
Right, and so you would have been taking the AFERD Youth Fitness Test.
I did, I remember it.
But you also could have been eligible to receive the President's Fitness Award, which was based on the AFERD Youth
right.
Fitness Test. You did not take the President's
right.
Council because there wasn't one then, but you may have tried to earn the President's Award.
So what ended up happening, and I don't want to jump too forward too fast, but what ended up happening was in 2012, President Obama and the Council adopted something different that went away from the President's Physical Fitness Award. Why was it that they moved away, and you were a part of what they moved to? What was in that was different?
Okay, so from 58 to 85, it was kind of a combination, some health-related fitness test items, some skill-related fitness tests. The teachers were objecting to the skill-related fitness because they perceived that most kids didn't have a chance to improve much because of heredity, because of kids who matured early or were older in their class and others had a great advantage. They were also critical of the President's Award because it was for the 85th percentile, and most kids didn't have a chance. In fact, less than 1% could achieve that award. So there was general discontent. However, the President's Council was sort of rebelling against the health-related thing
right.
that came in, a test, AFERD came in 80 with that test. And so there were two tests, and the teachers were confused and everything. So the President's Council, the teachers, AFERD, and the Cooper Institute, who had developed a report card for the AFERD Youth Fitness Test, were supposed to meet at a national convention in 1986 to kind of resolve these issues, to get rid of having multiple tests, decide what the award would be, what the test would be, with a focus on good health, because that's what the science was.
Right.
Well, at that point, the President's Council unilaterally presented a booklet and said, this is what we're going to do. Well, the task force from the Teachers Association said, no, that's not what we're going to do. That's inconsistent with it. We're concerned about the awards, and we have some tests that science shows that are better than the ones that you have. As a result, we ended up with a unilateral President's Council test and award, and then the AFERD tests were still there. The task force broke away and formed through the Cooper Institute a science board and created a new test and report card.
And you were on that board?
I was on that board, and it was called the FitnessGram test. Over time, it gained the favor of all of the physical education teachers who are the primary administrators of the test, but AFERD kind of got left in the lurch because they didn't have a test anymore. The presidents had theirs, the Cooper Institute had theirs. In '92, they finally joined up with FitnessGram, and that test, health-based test, the award scheme was more on activity.
Right.
If you did activity, you could, and anybody, if you give effort, could get it, and moved away from the fitness performance awards. So that test was in effect from '88, '98, 2008, and then finally in 2012, efforts by a bunch of people, including me, let's get one test. We consolidated it, and it became the President's Youth Fitness Program test battery under the Obama administration. It was not a test that Obama created. It was not a test that the administration created. It was a test that existed, that was dominant and well received, and it came out with a resource manual that showed why the tests were developed and an appropriate practice manual. And so that we don't do fitness to kids, we don't, we keep results confidential, we're sensitive to the needs of kids.
So the Trump administration is saying they want to go back to a test along with the Secretary, Health and Human Services Secretary. They would say that we have seen obesity and lack of healthy children over the years, not blaming anybody, but I'm just saying this is what they would say, that we need to go back to some other kind of a test to see if we can't get kids healthy and test them based on that health, is what they're saying about this test. What do you think, and what are you concerned about with us going back to a performance-based test?
Well, I read the executive order, and let me just first say, in my 65 years as a professional and researcher, I commend the president and the secretary for wanting to improve physical activity and fitness of American kids. And I especially like the statement in the executive order that says we need to have more physical education in schools, because I totally agree with that, especially since we now have some evidence-based programs that are really good. But in answer to your question, I'm not sure, what they want to do. I hope they don't want to go back to that, because teachers rebelled against that award system, and it doesn't motivate kids like they think. We don't want to, at least I don't want to go back to testing skill-related fitness and doing something like the NFL does.
Right.
And I don't want to put kids through boot camp or, 2-a-day drills. I want to get kids to love activity rather than hate it. And there are more than a few kids that have been turned off rather than turned on. So in answer, anything that people can do to promote it, it is a bit ironic that the statement in the executive order focuses on health when the President's Council over the last 50 years rejected health-based tests.
Right.
And it wasn't until FitnessGram came in that we ultimately got a health-based test. So there's, I think the key to it is, if what they're saying is let's appoint a board of experts like we did with the science board and create something that is new and better, and is not just let's go back to what it was because that's what I did and I liked it. I tried it and I liked it. It wasn't my perception of all of my research over the last 50 years is that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. Meaning there are more opportunities today for kids to be in sports, to get fit, to be active, and the kids that need it the most are the ones that are being left out and are excluded by the kind of awards that we had back when we had the President's Council. I think we need to help those kids, and the other thing we need to do is keep those kids in sports and stuff, because it's starting at age 13, the science is clear. Kids start to drop out, boys more so than girls, and we want that activity to track, right?
Right.
If you're active when you're young, you're more likely to be active when you're old, but still there's a decline over time. We want to keep that up.
Well, listen, I appreciate the history lesson because I didn't know a lot of the information you gave us, but I also appreciate your passion on the topic. Thanks for sharing this with the audience, and I hope it's an education for some people of where we've been to help us get to where we need to go. So thank you so much.
Anytime I can help people better understand what's going, that's what I want to do.
Doctor, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mike.
All right, you get it right here from one of the experts that lives right here in Arizona.